The sun had barely risen when I pulled into my new home in that quiet, overly manicured neighborhood, the kind with lawns cut like military buzz kits and driveways that sparkle from overwashing. I was 21, fresh off the biggest tech contract of my life, and the keys to my jet-black Rolls-Royce Phantom were still warm in my hand. I parked it carefully outside the rental property I'd just closed on for 6 months. Not even 10 minutes had passed before I heard it, the sound of rubber flip-flops slapping against concrete, that sharp, rhythmic slap-slap, like a warning signal. And then, her voice, "You lost, sweetheart," she said, arms crossed, head tilted with that smile that doesn't reach the eyes. Her short bob of overly bleached hair glistened in the morning light like a helmet. Her name tag said Karen, which almost made me laugh until it didn't. I glanced up from unloading my trunk. "Nope, I live here now, just moved in." She blinked once, twice. "That's impossible," she said, squinting at me like I was a glitch in her reality. "This is a quiet community. We don't rent out too." She stopped herself, but the way her eyes scanned my hoodie, my sneakers, and my skin tone said everything she didn't. I kept it calm. Always calm. "Check with the property owner. Signed the lease yesterday." But Karen wasn't interested in facts. She was staring at the Rolls-Royce, her lips twitching with suspicion. "Where'd you get that?" she asked, pointing to it like it was contraband. "No way someone your age can afford that legally. You steal it from one of your clients." I laughed, but it wasn't funny. "I built an app, went viral, sold the licensing. That's how I got that?" She didn't budge. "Sure you did," she muttered, tapping something into her phone. I felt my gut tighten. She was calling someone, or maybe already had, and she wasn't subtle about it. "Yeah, I have a situation," she said. Into her phone, "There's a suspicious young man claiming he lives here, and there's a very expensive vehicle out front. I think it might be stolen." I stepped forward. "Excuse me." She held up her hand like I was a problem she'd deal with later. "Trespassing," she snapped, her voice rising. "Don't make me get the HOA involved, or the sheriff. You're not scaring anyone." I wasn't trying to scare her. I was just trying to live. But Karen wasn't interested in truth, only in the story she had already written in her head. The sirens came 15 minutes later. 2 deputies stepped out of their cruiser, hands resting casually on their belts. The same Karen who had called me a thief was now suddenly all smiles and sweet concern. "I told you," she said to them, pointing again at me like I was a dangerous animal. "I've never seen him before. He said he lives here." The older deputy turned to me. "Sir, can we see some ID?" I handed it over, calm, careful, no sudden movements. I showed the lease agreement to all legit still. They asked me to step aside. Still, they questioned me about the car. Still, they ran the plate twice. Karen watched it all like she was enjoying a movie she'd seen 100 times, and she already knew how it ended. But she didn't, because something was about to flip this whole thing upside down. I just didn't know it yet. The deputy came back from the cruiser with my license and lease in hand. His eyes met mine, and there was a shift, a flicker of doubt, maybe embarrassment. "Everything checks out," he said. Karen blinked. "Excuse me, he's legally renting the property, and the Rolls-Royce is registered to his name." Her face twisted, contorted like she'd swallowed vinegar. "That can't be right," she barked. "That car is worth more than every house on this block." The younger deputy glanced at her. "Ma'am, just because someone's successful young doesn't make them a criminal." I wanted to feel vindicated. I wanted to walk away and call it a win. But her stare, that cutting look of disgust, it stuck to me like tar. "You're making a mistake," she mumbled, arms crossed again. This is exactly how crime creeps in. One nice car, one lie. Then boom, drugs, guns, drive-bys. The officer narrowed his eyes. "Do you even hear yourself?" I turned toward my door, done with this circus, but Karen wasn't finished. "Fine," she called out. "You may have faked your way into that house, but the HOA doesn't allow renters without board approval. You'll be gone in a week." That stopped me cold. I turned around slowly. "I'm not breaking any rules. The owner submitted all documents," she sneered. "We never approved it, and if we didn't approve it, it doesn't stand. Enjoy the ride while it lasts." Then she pulled out her phone again. Dialing her real army, the HOA board, I stepped into my house, heart pounding with equal parts rage and disbelief. I sat on the edge of my leather couch, staring at the floor, trying to process it all. I hadn't even unpacked, and already this woman had tried to strip me of my identity, my success, my right to exist where she didn't think I belonged. I called. My dad told him everything. He didn't even hesitate. "Son," he said, "don't let small minds drag you into their small world. You didn't get lucky. You built this. That woman's ego can't handle that. A young black man owns what? She can't dream of affording. But you know what we do with that kind of hate?" "What?" I asked. "We expose it loudly." He paused. "Let me make a call." The next morning, I woke up to a notice taped to my door. Notice of violation, unauthorized tenant, pending, HOA review. There it was, war dot. She had followed through, but she didn't know who she was messing with. She didn't know I'd grown up fighting for every ounce of respect. That I'd learned how to weaponize truth, legally and publicly. And most of all, she didn't know that my father wasn't just a retired Marine, ... He was also a civil rights attorney, and he was already on his way by the time my father's car rolled into the driveway. Karen was already outside. She'd taken to patrolling the street like a guard dog, arms crossed, lips pursed, eyes hawkish. The moment she saw him step out, suit pressed, briefcase in hand, her expression faltered. "Who's this?" she asked, taking a step closer. "Attorney," I said. "Also my father." He smiled politely. "Good morning. You must be the neighbor who filed the police report." Her eyes narrowed. "I'm the HOA vice president. I filed a violation, not a report. This community follows strict standards, and those standards," he interrupted, "do not override federal housing laws or state tenant rights. Already reviewed the HOA bylaws, and your actions may constitute harassment and discrimination." Karen blinked like she'd been slapped with a legal document. "This isn't about race or age," she snapped. "This is about protecting property values." My dad didn't even flinch. "So tell me, how does a legally leased home and a legally owned car lower property values? Or is the issue that my son doesn't fit your idea of who belongs here?" She scoffed. "You people always twist everything into a race thing." There it was, the phrase that always reveals the truth. I felt my blood boil, but my dad calmly opened his briefcase and pulled out a stack of papers. "Here's a formal cease and desist," he said. "Any further action you or your HOA take to remove or harass my son will be met with litigation. You've already filed a false police report and unlawfully interfered with his tenancy." Karen's hand shook as she took the papers. "This is outrageous," she muttered. "You can't sue an HOA for trying to protect its standards." "We're not suing the HOA," he replied. "We're suing you, personally, for harassment, slander, and discrimination." The color drained from her face. "And if this goes public," he added, "it won't just be a lawsuit. It'll be a headline." Karen didn't speak. She turned and stormed off. But not before muttering something under her breath about entitled brats and lawyers who think they own the world. That evening, I received a formal letter from the HOA president apologizing for the incident and stating that no further action would be taken against my lease. But the story didn't end there, because Karen wasn't done. Been quiet for a few days, but then came the next move. Petty calculated, and just as poisonous my car, my Rolls-Royce got keyed. Deep, jagged lines down the passenger side. The kind you don't do accidentally. No cameras, no witnesses. Just silence. But I knew who did it, and I was done playing quiet. The scratch was deep metal. It stretched from the front fender to the back door like a scar carved in spite. My stomach dropped the moment I saw it, but my heart, it stayed steady. I already knew what this was. Karen couldn't win she couldn't destroy me. So she went after what she thought mattered most to me, my car. But what she didn't know was the moment she showed her colors. I reviewed the footage. 3:41 a.m., there she was, hood up, gloves on, glancing over her shoulder before dragging a key across the paint with such bitter satisfaction it was almost theatrical. Her smirk faded into panic as the car's lights flickered in response to and within the hour, the police were at her door. She screamed, she denied, she cried, but the video didn't lie. She was arrested on the spot for vandalism and destruction of property over $10,000. She was screaming about being set up and provoked, but nobody was listening this time, and as they walked her, to the squad car in handcuffs. The neighbors, quiet for weeks, started peeking out from behind their windows. Some even stepped out onto their porches, because now they were watching her like they used to watch me. The HOA released a statement the next day, formally removing her from the board and banning her from participating in future meetings or neighborhood affairs. I could have ended it there. Could have let her spiral into her own mess and walked away clean. But I spoke up. I went public with the footage, posted the story on social media start to finish. Not for revenge, but for visibility, because people like Karen operate in silence. Behind fences, behind phony smiles, behind concerns about property value and community standards. But once her story spread over 6 million views in 48 hours, something changed. Young people started diming me, saying thank you, saying they'd been through the same thing in quiet neighborhoods with loud prejudice. And that's when I realized this story wasn't just about a scratched car or a crazy neighbor. It was about being seen, respected, believed. I still live in that house. The Rolls-Royce got repainted. Karen ended up moving to towns over. But every time I pull into that driveway, I smile, because no one looks at me like I don't belong anymore. They look at me like the guy who stood his ground, the guy who had the nerve to be young, rich, and unafraid, and never apologized for it. 6 months later, the neighborhood felt like a different place. The glares turned into nods, the whispers stopped, and the same neighbors who stayed silent when Karen called the cops, they started stopping by. Some brought homemade cookies. Others asked about the app I built, even invited me to speak at a local youth coding event. Funny how fast respect shows up when the truth goes viral, but Karen wasn't done paying. After her arrest, she tried to sue me for defamation, claiming I publicly humiliated her and ruined her career. But her case was thrown out before it ever made it to trial. Why? Because I hadn't just posted the footage, I posted facts. Her arrest report, the police statement, the official HOA removal letter. There was nothing left for her to twist. She became an online joke, memes, TikTok's reaction. Videos, Rolls-Royce Karen, they called her. But I never responded, never clapped back, never made it about revenge. Instead, I started something else, a scholarship. For underprivileged kids who wanted to learn coding and tech, especially those who grew up being told they'd never make it, we called it Drive Your Own Future. Because no matter what someone like Karen thinks when they look at you, the power is always in your hands. A local news station picked up the story. Then, a few podcasts. Then, a tech conference invited me to speak. One moment of hate turned into a ripple of purpose. And every time I hear a garage door open and see someone new moving into the neighborhood, I smile and wave. No judgment, no assumptions. Because that's the thing about growth, it makes you bigger than the people who tried to shrink you. So yeah, I still drive my Rolls-Royce, but now it's not just a symbol of success, it's a reminder that no matter how loud their doubt, no matter how deep their scratches, I still show up, I still shine, and I still own everything they swore I didn't deserve. They said I couldn't live here. They said I couldn't own a car like that at my age. They said I didn't belong, just because I didn't fit their picture of success. But what they didn't realize is, I wasn't here to fit in. I was here to stand out. And when Karen accused me, when she called the cops, spread lies, vandalized my car, she wasn't just trying to humiliate me. She was trying to erase me. But I didn't break. I didn't run. I stood taller, because the truth doesn't panic when it's challenged. The truth doesn't hide behind HOA rules and fake smiles, with paperwork in one hand and purpose in the other. They tried to take everything from me, but all they did was give me a bigger platform now. Millions have heard my story. Now kids who look like me who dream big, hustle hard, and dare to succeed know that they are not alone. Karen didn't destroy my future. She revealed it. She exposed the cracks in a system built to doubt us, and she reminded me exactly why never stop driving forward no matter who tries to block the road. So the next time someone tells you that you don't belong, show them your keys, start the engine, and remind them you didn't steal success, you earned it. If this story moved you, if you've ever been judged for your age, your skin, your success, or just for being different, hit that subscribe button. We're telling the stories they don't want told, and your voice helps amplify the truth. Drop a comment below. Have you ever faced something like this? Have you ever had to prove you earned what you built? I want to hear your story. This isn't just my fight, it's ours. So let's speak up together. Because every time we share the truth, we take back the power. Subscribe, comment, and keep driving forward.